Hello YouTube, this is Ken Faulkner, back with another knife video. This one's going to be about a fairly nice sized knife here. Someone might even call it somewhat large. The Formax Scout by Cold Steel. And this is a knife that I recently picked up on a trip to Arizona. In Arizona, there's a knife shop called Blade Runner, and where I live in Los Angeles, California, we don't really have any knife shops like we used to, and it's really good to be able to actually go inside of a shop and take a look at knives and handle it in your hand and be able to tell what it's like before you buy it, instead of buying it online or watching a review and having somebody else tell you about the knife. So anytime you have an opportunity to do that, I recommend that for sure. This is an Andrew Dimco design, drop point blade. As you can see, it's made in Taiwan. This is not the Formax design, which was I guess originally was a USA made, and then there was some that were made in Italy, but those are no longer available. But this one's got a pretty good price tag on it, and it's good quality. OS 10A. Cold Steel really knows how to do good heat treat on OS 10A. And so this Andrew Dimco's got the Triad lock, super strong lock, and especially on this one because it's got such a thick blade stock. And so that lock is just humongous on this thing. And you can see how it all comes apart and goes back together. This one's maybe not quite as fidgety as some knives are, but it certainly does drop because the blade is quite heavy. And I have to give it a good wrist to get it to open because it's quite large, and so it does take a little energy. It's a little easier when it's not under the camera. Little tip for Billy from Apex Alchemy. If you ever get a chance, go check out his channel. He's recently been doing a lot of videos on this knife. And he initially, when he first got it, he had a little trouble with the closing of the knife. And I found that when I close this knife, if I stick my finger up in the front here and drop it down, then it catches on, not on the sharp part of the knife, but on the part back behind the edge. And then I'm able to shut it one-handed without cutting myself. So it's just something to get used to with this Triad lock, being able to fidget it one-handed. Now I got a couple of knives for comparison. A couple of other Cold Steels favorites of mine. This one's the 8010, also Andrew Dimco. And you can see that it's a little smaller, even though it's also a big blade. It's even a little smaller than the Formax Scout. And then I also got the 8015, so I got a nice little collection of the 80 knives from Cold Steel. And that one is even smaller than the 8010. But this one actually has the Scorpion lock, which is a little bit different than the other locks. Not quite as dangerous because you got your hands out of the way when you're opening and closing the knife. Also, I brought out, because of the fact that this handle material, which is referred to as Griv X, I'm not really sure. I think that's just their name they use, and it's not really like a Grivery type or some of those plasticky type knives. It's very solid handle, and it's got a grip to it. I don't know if you can see it in the camera, but it's kind of got that grip, that texture, and it really grips really well. And it reminds me a lot of my Hogue Sig Sauer, which is also all blacked out like this one. And you can see it also has a bit of that same kind of texture. It's almost like a skateboard tape that you might have used back in the day. And yeah, it's the same kind of texture. These guys almost look like they're related to each other. And then a couple of knives, I guess, that are more common things that you might have in your collection would be this is a PM2, Paramilitary 2. Then quite a bit smaller, but popular knife is the QSP Penguin. And then also going down even a little bit smaller is another Cold Steel. It's the Tough Light. Now this one, the handle material on this, they call it a polymer. And it definitely feels very plasticky. So I'm not as fond of this one. It also does have that back lock, and you have to be careful when you drop this one as well. But this handle material on the Formax Scout definitely has a really good grip, and it feels good for something that's not G10 or micarta or something along those lines. So I definitely like this knife quite a bit. Just the measurements of it to give you an idea how big it is. Get out my high-tech ruler here, and if you can see that, we got 10 inches from tip to the end of the handle, and the blade, it looks like it's about 4 inches long of cutting edge. 4 inches long. That's quite a knife. The handle is almost 5.5, 5 3/4 inches, and that grip on the inside really gives you a lot of room on your hand. A lot of room. You can grip it. You got this kind of highly aggressive jimping on the back. It kind of helps your thumb hold on to that knife. It's got some finger grooves here, the like choil area here. You also choke up on it as if you're going to be using this for fine type things. But if you're like getting in and feather sticking or doing some kind of fire starting type things, you want to be able to get in there and kind of cut those small little curls off of those pieces of wood. So you can do that with this knife. You could probably I've done some chopping with it on smaller pieces of wood. It handles it pretty well. You can hold that handle way back here, and you can actually get like a good chopping motion with it. So it's very useful for different things. If you want to terrify your people at your work, you can whip this thing out in the middle of the lunchroom, and it's pretty good for that too. So anyway, Formax Scout, I hope you all have a good day.